Every time I interview you, I always seem to be asking about the council accounts. Every time I speak to you, you say they're about to be signed off, or the leader of the council tells me they're about to be signed off. The deputy leader of the council tells me they're going to be signed off, and here we are, they still haven't been signed off. And it does cause that feeling of mistrust from your public, the council taxpayers, when you're doing all these investments and things like that. The accounts still haven't been signed off, and I know it's a technicality, but the people don't understand the technicalities, and to you it might not be a big issue, but to the people out there it is a big issue.
Yeah, I mean it's about trust and understanding, isn't it? Whether people believe what we're saying. Every time I said the accounts are going to be signed off, Gary, that was in really good faith. There's also then an event occurs that stops them being signed. So the latest event, it's a national event, not just affecting here, is there needs to be evaluation of infrastructure assets. And our auditors, Grant Thornton, are doing that. And they've advised me that as soon as that's done, the accounts of 17-18 will then be signed off.
But we don't know how long that's going to take.
No, but it's a national issue, and I can't tell you when. This month's not another year, I hope. Then we're on to the 18-19 accounts, for which good progress has been made. Certain individuals in the town, which have the right to do, have made objections to those accounts, and that complicates issues.
But the stumbling block originally with the accounts was the investment in Redwood Bank, and it was challenged by a couple of members of the public who carried on challenging it.
Yeah.
And the value has been written down. So, you know, why doesn't the council, why don't the councillors come out and say, yeah, we made a mistake, we did spend too much money on it? Well, why is more money thrown at arguing the case?
With respect, Gary, you're wrong. It wasn't written down. It is performing as per the business case. Those people who object sometimes don't want to understand the facts. When they're given the facts, there's one individual in the town who's been given a lot of facts on this, doesn't accept them, goes on and on and on. So there's no issue about Redwood Bank. It's performing to the business plan. It's made a profit last year, and there is no issues about the value of our shareholding.
But if what that individual is saying, alleging, promoting, putting out on social media is factually incorrect, why weren't the accounts signed off?
They weren't signed off not because of that. They haven't been signed off because of the latest objection.
No, but the original.
No, it wasn't to do with that. It wasn't to do with that. That was the inquiry that caused the delay. The reason it's not been signed off now is because of the fact that this national infrastructure matter, which is a national issue.
So you're still happy with the investments in Redwood Bank?
Absolutely, I am. There are some individuals that read your newspaper, Gary, and who simply do not accept any fact that this council provides. In a democratic society, that's acceptable. But it's also somewhat of a problem when that person goes on and on and on about the same thing. We're using a lot of valuable council and officer time in order to have these fallacious conversations.
But then it doesn't help these arguments and discussions when we have the situation with Together Energy. I mean, you can't sit there now and say Together Energy was a good investment.
It was a good investment, Gary. The fact that along with 31 of the companies, it collapsed because of what happened to the wholesale energy price against the consumer price cap. It was trading more at the point it hit a problem along with the others. One energy company, Ball, was effectively nationalised by the government, and that's costing the government billions and billions of pounds to keep it afloat. Together Energy wasn't at the size in terms of its customer base that it would be nationalised by the government. So I do not accept it as being a failure. The matter's with the administrator. The administrator is talking to the council and to the key partners about this, and we fully expect that matter to be resolved about its overall position within the next year. And then I sit here and I say this in good faith, Gary, it should land in balance, i.e. it will not have lost money. But again, there are some people in this town who want to go on and on and on about this. They smell a rat when the rat's not there. They just plead and wait for the facts to emerge through proper process.
But it's not just members of the public, it's the opposition have also raised serious concerns about the council's investment.
And that's what the opposition are here to do, Philly. They're here quite properly understanding the whole of Labour councillors to account. They're the ruling administration. They've got their own views on that. We've explained matters to them. They've had the ability to look at the administrative report. That has been a public document, there's no problem about that.
But you understand why people are getting upset about, the council taking a gamble on investment. Any investment's a gamble.
I do, but I'd also say to you, Gary, if we hadn't taken some of these decisions on wise investments, not a gamble, we wouldn't have had the £20 million net per year come into the council's budget, which supports the frontline services. So those people who say you shouldn't have been doing any of this, what services would they reduce or end for that £20 million that wouldn't be there?
Well, it's not just, the 20 million figure's been brought out quite a few times over the past few years, and people can obviously see somewhere like Birchwood Park, for example, is a fantastic investment. It's in reality hardly ever likely to lose money, it's only ever going to generate more money. But it's like the latest investment in the solar energy farm, another £60 million of borrowed money. I mean, people just struggle to get their heads round borrowing more and more money when there's over 1.6 billion debt to try and make 20 million.
Well, it's the fourth.
It's another gamble, isn't it, in solar energy?
It's a wise investment, Gary. You know, we don't gamble. We only make wise investment based on due diligence and a lot of evidence. Yeah, it's the fourth solar farm that we've invested in. The first two are now very profitable, and the third one is coming on stream now. The fourth one, which is in Doncaster, will take some time for us to be built. They will come on stream in 2 years' time. And I actually think investment in green energy and solar is a wise investment again, because it will produce not only the net zero, helps in the net zero agenda, it will produce resources for the council we would not have had. Those resources are there to support frontline services. That's the reason we're doing it, as well as the policy agenda around net zero, which is very, very strong in the town.
But you understand why people are worried and concerned about borrowing more and more money?
I understand why some people are, but there's 212,000 people in this town, Gary. It's only a small minority of people who seem to always beat their path to your door, because you're so well known in the town, Gary, who are raising these issues. Most vast majority of people out there are not concerned, but they would be concerned if £20 million worth of service cuts were made by the council and they didn't have the services. We had to close the leisure centre, they couldn't cut the grass, they couldn't repair the roads, and so on. Those are the some people would be concerned.
But we talk, you recently had to put, I think it was 2.5 million into live wire to keep the leisure centres going because of the increased fuel costs. How do you manage to maintain that sort of situation?
Well, despite the government's going to have to put money, I think, this week into supporting the consumers' energy costs, it's something we'll have to consider going forward. We're very proud of our leisure offer. We're also looking, as you know, to develop Bridgewater High School with the leisure centre there, at Broomfield's Leisure Centre. So we are wanting to maintain the services, but at the moment, with the energy prices where they are, where general inflation is, we're having to support live in that particular way.
Now, you've tried to convince me and our viewers that the investments that the council are making are good ones, and even the Together Energy one, where on paper it looks as though a lot of money's been lost, but you're hoping to come out from an even playing field with that situation. Do you accept that sometimes the council get things wrong?
Of course it is. Just like we all do in life.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And when we do, we'll say we have. But at the moment, on the issues you raise with me, I don't say that we've been wrong. Yeah, the reason for the energy situation because of what happened globally with energy prices, and in the case of this one, because where they went to wholesale prices versus the price cap.
So, do you remain positive about all the current council investments?
I do.
And you've not got any of them wrong?
No, and as you'll be aware, the government are looking at a number of councils in relation to the risks around their borrowing levels. We're one of the councils which they decided to have a conversation with. We really welcome those conversations about how we've invested in Birchwood Park, our investments in Redwood Bank, and some of the loans we've made actually to some bigger companies, the Hook Group for instance. We're quite pleased by their interest in this. We've nothing to hide, nothing to be concerned about. We want to explain it. And that's, remember, the government in 2014 encouraged councils to be commercial. They wanted us to go out in a managed way to be entrepreneurial, and that's exactly what we've done here in White.
We've seen the government actually say that they're going to come in and work with the council to try and help you through these difficult financial times. Has anything happened along
No, that's intervention, I think you're talking about, that you've seen in places such as in Slough, in Croydon and in Liverpool. This is a conversation, not the intervention we're having with the government. At the moment, the government's all happy with the way we've gone about our business planning, our governance and our decision making. It's a conversation that I say I welcome.
Okay. Well, normally in our interviews, I also talk to you about Warrington Wolves, and I'd like to try and finish the interview on a positive note.